I'm sorry, Aaron Rodgers did what in practice?
Zoinks! It is unequivocally the Super Bowl for New York Jet fans.
Field Yates, baby. Field, gosh darn Yates. Let's bring him on the show. Come on, people. Connor Rodgers is joining the show. What's up, Connor? But Trevor gosh darn Sycamore, baby, for me, personally, my favorite New York Jet of all time.
Wow, it's great to be on. What an intro that was right there.
Paul, nobody does an intro like you, man.
Paul, you give the best intro of literally any podcast that I've ever.
I'm gonna lose my gosh darn bananas.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Boy Green Daily, a daily New York Jets video program for about 20 minutes and change every single day live at 7:30. We're streaming on the Heavy on Jets Facebook page to nearly 40,000 Jet fans. We're on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. Make sure you guys like the video, hit subscribe. It makes a tremendous difference. We're trying to get to 6,000 subs before we reach the new year. So help us in our efforts to do so. And also as well, on Twitter or X or whatever you call it. Now, Robert Saleh said Aaron Rodgers kind of ramped it up this week in practice, because again, a couple of key details is that his 21-day practice window ends next week, in the middle of next week. So the Jets have to make a decision. Are they activating him from the window, which means he would be eligible, of course, to return to play, or they could activate him so he could continue to practice? Because if he is not activated, he can't continue to practice after that point. So, probably in this season that is somewhat lost right now, they should probably activate him anyway, just for the reps of practice, I would assume. Because what's one roster spot for a team of this nature? But, so Robert Saleh says, Aaron Rodgers ramped it up in practice. I said, oh, wow, okay. And he talked about some of the things that he ramped up. He's doing a little boots, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that, did some 7-on-7, not 11-on-11, which is the final step of the process, basically. But he's been doing a lot of stuff. And I said, wow, okay, Robert Saleh, Aaron Rodgers ramping it up. I don't know if you guys heard the story, but shout out to Rich Cimini. We're going to throw it up here on the screen, but I will read you the tweet, which almost made me spit out my drink over the weekend. It almost made me spit out my drink, and it was this. Here, I'm going to read it to you guys real quick. This is from Rich Cimini. Get my reading glasses out. This is from Rich Cimini. And I went, oh, this is the verified account, right? Let me go. Rich Cimini, 137.6 thousand followers. Okay, that's a guy. Okay, here's a tweet. Aaron Rodgers delivered a wow moment today in practice, a leaping one-handed interception. What? Quarterback Aaron Rodgers delivered a what? He was filling in on scout team defense. I'm sorry? The latest on his comeback bid. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers was on scout team defense and performed a one-handed interception. I have so many questions, but we have so few answers. Why in the hell was a Achilles repairing quarterback playing any scout team defense reps? What the hell's going on there? Who threw him the interception? I have so many questions and so few answers. Maybe Ty Butler of ESPN 98.7, rising superstar, fresh off some massive contract extension, I'm sure. Ink is drying on that deal. Maybe he can provide some details here. What the hell, Ty, when you saw this tweet, what was your reaction here to this?
So honestly, I read the entire story, and the first thing I did was I had to reread the sentence. I'm like, wait, what? Because I'm like, he threw an interception, or did he catch an interception? So I reread it, and just like you, I was shocked to see what I was reading. But I mean, even Saleh, his comments. Rodgers looks normal. He looks he looks regular out there. So it'll be interesting to see, what decision they come up with in 5 days. Because on Wednesday, obviously, they have to make a decision on whether they're going to activate him or end his season. So we'll see it. And a lot is riding on, I guess, what happens in Miami tomorrow, because he did say it would be kind of meaningless to come back if the Jets aren't in playoff contention. And you would imagine that once they clinch another season under 500, which would be what, the 7th or 8th straight season under 500 for the Jets. It would kill his hopes of coming back. But yeah, man, I just like you was marveling at that. What the hell is going on here? This dude clearly he's a freak athlete, but just 3 months removed from a torn Achilles, being able to do that is insane, man.
Let me ask you, is it more impressed like, wow, Aaron Rodgers, what a one-handed interception at 40 years of age, or more so, Jets, what the are you doing putting a quarterback who's recovering from an Achilles, random scout team reps
Man.
as a linebacker on defense? It seems risky. Seems odd.
Could you imagine we saw the follow-up tweet, Rodgers re-injured his Achilles? Or maybe it's not even the Achilles, it's another injury he suffered.
Yeah, Rodgers holding leg on ground, team surround.
Oh, my God. Oh, man.
I get it's fun.
That would have been the icing on the cake for the season, right?
That's for sure. Yeah.
It's fun in nature, but it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
And I'm also starting to get the feeling that he's not going to play. Just because.
At all this season, you think?
Yeah, I don't think.
Okay.
I could be wrong. This isn't me reporting anything, or I haven't spoken with anyone. This is just me speculating and giving my own opinion.
Sure.
It's hard to imagine they're going to win this game tomorrow. And if that happens, I can see the spin on this being, well, he was ready to come back, but we've decided against it because it makes no sense. We'll see you next year. Let's put him on the shelf, ice it down. We'll see you next year. But if they win this game tomorrow, it gets interesting. His comments are like, he's not going to be 100% until after the season, which, no one's 100% until they fully recover from this torn Achilles, which we've seen 5.5 months for Cam Akers.
That's correct. Then, that's the fastest so far on record.
It's the fastest. Like, this is 3 months, so it's unprecedented. It's something we've never seen before. And I understand he wants to prove everyone wrong. He is a guy who he's living and dying on his vaccination thing. So imagine, how he feels about the torn Achilles. He wants to prove his way can be done, even though I don't think anyone's doubting him. That's the fascinating thing, right? Right? People right now are impressed. People right now are in a place where they're like, man, like, you've done something that's never been done before. He's made it back to the practice field. He still hasn't done 11 on 11, but to look this good that quickly is an accomplishment in itself. What are you rooting for?
I think it's a little crazy, to be honest. First off, that he's even attempting this. But number two, that like the videos in practice yesterday, as far as I know, there's no video of this one-handed interception, but maybe the Jets are ready to release that at some point for some funny thing. But like, so the zip in the passes, like, he's showing a little chutzpah. Again, it's not 11 on 11. And even still, the quarterbacks are wearing red jerseys. But still, we haven't seen that part of it yet. But seeing him, Robert Saleh said he looks, quote unquote, normal to me. And I'm like, oh, man. Because, like, I just have this feeling that if the Jets beat the Dolphins, the tweet next week is Aaron Rodgers has been medically cleared, and here we go, Christmas Eve, and I'm going to be like, well, here we go. I can't. It may have been Jake Asman, another one of the fill-in hosts occasionally on ESPN 98.7. I think he said it a couple weeks ago on this show that Jet fans, it's probably just going to happen. Like, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, they're just going to do it, and you have no control over it. So just embrace it and enjoy potentially seeing Aaron Rodgers in a season you thought you weren't going to see him after week one, and just embrace it and just go, this is crazy. This is crazy. The Christmas vacation. This is crazy. This is crazy. A little bit of that, and then just go and just enjoy it. So I'm a little scared, but it's almost like one of those roller coasters. I hate roller coasters normally, but a little like, ching, 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 ching. I'm like, oh man, Aaron Rodgers, this is great. This is fantastic. Wow, this is amazing. So I'm kind of pumped up in a very scary way. Yes,
it's the perfect analogy because you know how much I love Rodgers, and this goes back to him being in Green Bay. This predates the trade to the Jets. Like, this has been my favorite quarterback. So I'm rooting for it just because it would be obviously an awesome story to see this type of miraculous comeback happen. And, it's my favorite team. But the other part of me is like, man, so your first game back is going to be, 8 days from now? You still haven't participated in 11 on 11. You still haven't been a full participant in practice. And now, you're going to take the field behind this offensive line on
The same
that
field.
turf. Yeah, on that turf where just this year, we've seen 3 torn Achilles injuries, 1 by Miami and then 2 by the
Jalen, yeah.
Jets.
Yep. Right.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
2
right.
by the
Yeah.
Jets.
Uh-huh.
So it's Al Woods tore his Achilles on that
Al
field.
Woods. Yeah, that was it. I was
Yeah,
about to
and
say. Vera Tucker's was in Denver. But yes,
yeah,
we've
that
had
was in
so many.
Denver.
That's kind of sick. But
Yeah,
yes,
which is
we've had
insane,
so
right?
many.
Three
Yeah, that's
three
right. Yeah.
torn Achilles on one team. It's just amazing, right? So I mean, behind this offensive line on that field, it's just like okay, if you think that makes sense, because even if the Jets win out, which I don't think is going to happen, but let's just play that game where they win out, they go 9-8,
Mm-hmm.
they only have an 11% chance to make the playoffs in that
That's
scenario.
correct.
The
Mm-hmm.
bottom of the conference is so loaded. It's just maybe it's worth it for him because it's the back nine of his career. That window's closing, so any opportunity he has to be out there, he's gonna take advantage of it. But man, I you know what I don't like hearing? Well, if
What's
he
that?
re-tears it, he has the entire offseason to rehab it. That doesn't make me feel
Yeah,
great.
Rodgers kind of said that. I think there was a private. So for those who don't know, Aaron Rodgers, of course, could do podium stuff and Pat McAfee stuff. But every once in a while, the Jets, credit to them, they allow Aaron Rodgers to speak basically privately with reporters. Go up to a press conference room. It's Aaron Rodgers and like 20 reporters, and there's no cameras or anything, but they all are taking notes and asking him questions. And apparently during that sesh, somewhere in the last 2 weeks or so, they asked him like, "Oh boy, what's the worst case scenario?" And he said exactly what you just said. Well, worst thing I re-tear and I've got 8-9 months, whatever it is, to come back. No big deal. And he kind of shoulder shrugged. The media just went, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that doesn't make me feel great. The
That's
dude
not
is
very
40.
encouraging. No,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
40, and I get like what the timeline is for recovery and getting back onto the field after you re-tear it. But is it first of all, people don't feel great now that you've already torn it. Multiply that by 1,000,000 if you re-tear it. So yeah, that's not that doesn't that's not like something endorsing to me. Like it doesn't make me
Definitely
feel
not.
great.
Right.
So I mean, I want to see it because it would be fun. I also
Sure.
feel like you. It just would be an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, very much so. So I want to get into what you just said because I feel like a lot of this rides in this Dolphins game, and in particular this AFC week. Credit to all the Jets people that do all the rooting interest of what the Jets need to root for this crazy potential playoff to happen of them winning out and the 12 and 11% of what you just said. So there's a lot of AFC teams playing NFC teams. So Jet fans got to be rooting for all these NFC teams to beat all these AFC playoff teams this weekend. So there's a lot of rooting going on. But you said something to the effect of you do not believe the Jets are going to beat the Dolphins. And I'm curious about that because I believe this is the hardest game left on the Jets' schedule. There's other interesting challenges left. Again, the Cleveland defense is really good. Joe Flacco, wouldn't that be fun to face old Joe Flacco again? And then the Patriot streak and everything else. But it seems like if they get past this one, then all of a sudden things get spicy, both on the Aaron Rodgers front and the front of, wait a second, can we do this thing? Can we run it? Why do you not believe that there may just be an obvious thing? The Dolphins have a really good record and they're vying for the number one seed. The Jets are vying for a top 10 draft pick. Maybe it's that simple. But what is in your mind that's telling you like this ain't happening?
All of that in concert with, tell me the time we've seen Zach Wilson have back-to-back good games.
That has not happened. I
Okay, so
looked it up in
now,
his history. Yeah.
so now we're banking on something historic happening. In
Yeah.
addition
Mm-hmm.
to the Dolphins being a better team, by the way, Miami reminds me a lot of that Vikings team last year that
Interesting.
looked great,
The lucky
and
one. Yeah.
we knew that they were not going to have playoff success. For Minnesota last year, it was point differential, right? Like we saw them winning all
Correct.
these games on game-winning kicks.
One score games. Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Miami, that's not happening. It's they're blowing out the bad teams, and then every time they play a good team, they get spanked. And then we just saw them with 3 minutes left to go in the game lose to Will Levis and the Titans.
Up 2
So
touchdowns.
up 14, 3 minutes left. And by the way, shout out to Mike Vrabel. I am a
Yeah.
huge fan of the analytics department that has come up with the formula that, it makes more sense when you're down 14, you scored a touchdown, you go for 2, because
Mm-hmm.
the numbers tell you it is less likely that you are going to miss both 2-point conversions than it is that you're going to make one and miss one. So if you go for 2 in that scenario, down 2 touchdowns, you miss it, then you got to go for 2 again. It's highly unlikely that you're going to miss both. So shout out to Mike Vrabel for that. But anyway, back to Miami, losing that game, even the sharp money in Vegas is coming in on the Jets. Because I think that when I first saw Jets-Dolphins, it was like at 13.5 points. Now it's come down. It's come down to like, it was like, now it's like 8.5, 9.5. So a lot of people are putting money on the Jets. I think the combo of what we saw Zach Wilson do against Houston last week, plus what happened on Monday night in Miami against the
current
Titans.
line is 9 points. Miami's a 9-point favorite after opening as 13.5. Yep.
And then, of course, the obvious, Miami's dealing with some issues, not just on their offensive line, but Tyreek Hill hasn't practiced all week. And he's also got some baby mama drama. I don't know if you saw that.
Did you see that? Well, that was spicy.
God.
Oh my. That would have gotten my ass back on the field. I'll tell you that right now. That would have gotten my ass back on the field. Like, the back. I just, out. And she's like, let me see the back. Get your ass back in there. Okay, honey. Actually, it feels good. Feels good.
Yeah,
all right, we're
it's like,
back.
do you really want extra time at home to sort through that? I don't know if that's the right move for you, man. You might as well try to back out of that situation for as long as you can. But yeah, we'll see if he's gonna play tomorrow, and even if he does play, like we saw how significantly the impacted their offense was once he went out. So if he's dealing with some type of an ankle issue, that's gonna obviously be an advantage for a Jet defense that really doesn't give up explosive plays anyway. I just think Miami's the better team. We've never seen Zach play back-to-back good games, and it's hard for me to think that. And like we keep having this conversation, is this the week where it clicks? I'm past that already. So I've got to believe what history tells me, and history tells me we're going to see a regression to the mean, and that's a quarterback who really can't get out of his own way.
All right, let me float a stat at you, and you just tell me big deal, no deal, whatever you think. Jets cornerback Sauce Gardner has gone 19 straight games without an interception. Thoughts, reactions?
That is a big deal. If you remember, we talked about this following that Cowboys loss, 30-10, where he had an opportunity for a big pick six that would have been game-changing, and it just never materialized. I do feel like I guess you can make this case for a lot of players on defense. Jets got a lot of defensive players who are great with bad hands. C.J. Mosley, I mean, how many picks is he going to drop?
At least 5 or 6 this year.
Yeah,
Michael Carter the second had a diving one.
He dropped one last week. Sauce, the defense is going to be, people don't really throw at him, so like he doesn't get a ton of opportunity.
But he's dropped every one, though.
Yeah, but he drops them. Like he's got bad hands. Yeah, that Falcons one, he just dropped. So. Like you look at Deron Bland, right? Like Deron Bland he's not a great cover corner, but he's got excellent hands. Sauce Gardner's a great cover corner who just doesn't have the best of hands. I don't want to say he has bad hands because he's shown the ability to, get in there and knock the ball away. But just as far as catching it, we know why he's that. So I think it is a big deal. Like that's game changing. The Jets. We saw them have a streak of games where they forced a lot of turnovers, like particularly that Philadelphia game. We saw obviously week 1 against the Bills where they forced a lot of turnovers. Denver, they end the game with a strip. So like, it's a defense that had made strides, taking the ball away. But the corners and these linebackers, man, gotta get better at like interceptions. Like that's a big deal to me.
All right, buy or sell this. Robert Saleh, in response to the lack of interceptions for Sauce Gardner, says they're coming, and they come in bunches. So he said once he kind of breaks the seal, and he didn't use this example, but a lot of people did on social media. It's not a one-for-one example, but once the Jets scored their first offensive touchdown against the Texans, players on the sideline were saying, okay, if that's all it is, we could score a bunch, and they scored 3, and that was the first time all season they had scored 3. In comparison to Sauce, he gets 1, all of a sudden he sees ball, hands catching it, and all of a sudden now he could go crazy. Do you buy or sell that?
I can sell or I buy the idea. It's just hard to buy it coming from Saleh. He's optimistic about everything. I mean, the Jets had scored 10 offensive touchdowns in 13 games, and he's like, we're close. We're knocking on the door every week. It's like, yeah, we're in the red zone, which which tells you we're close. And it's like, no, man, it tells you that you're still a team that's incapable of putting the ball in the end zone. So yes, I can buy the idea that, someone as elite as Sauce Gardner can have that happen, or once he's finally able to catch it, there's some revelation that goes off in his mind. It's like, yeah, I can catch the football. But coming from Salah, it just kind of hits differently. He's optimistic about everyone.
All right, yeah, because speaking of the Jets getting in the red zone all the time, Ty, do you know what the definition of second place is?
Not being in first place.
Yeah. You're the first loser. That's what that is. You're the first loser. Just say, wow, we have been all the way at the doorstep a bunch of times and not have gotten in, correct, Coach? Yeah. Yes. Okay. All right. Excellent. Yeah. And because we haven't gotten your take on this, Zach Wilson has his wild game, obviously, last week against the Texans. One of the best games he's had, his third 300-yard passing performance. But to the point, following everyone, small sample size, obviously. Hey, Zach, that's you to blame. If you gave us more to evaluate, then I would have more to evaluate here. But we only have 3 and technically 2 to react to so far. Some people believe. So he's actually performed not great, again, following those two past 300-yard passing performances. But people say, but boy, if he did that and could keep doing it, then maybe he changes his destiny here with the Jets. Do you buy or sell that?
Well, first of all, I love what you just said about the small sample size. Could you imagine him like in court trying to argue against what people are saying? Zach Wilson, you've never had back-to-back good games, and his attorney, objection, Your Honor, small sample size. And we're like, yeah, the reason why there's a small sample size, dude, is because you haven't had a ton of great games for us to follow that up with. So,
what a great counter.
Funny. Oh, my God.
And they're like, yeah, oh, the crowd. Oh. Small sample size.
I'm selling this, man. It's like, listen, we thought that coming into the season, it was just an absolute terrible decision for them to back up a 39-year-old quarterback with a guy who they had benched multiple times.
Exclusively.
Yes, now they've benched him again. And the latest was for Tim Boyle, who we know should not be in any NFL. Then the Diana Rossini report comes out, which we haven't talked about. About him having his reservations about going into the game, which sent me over the edge, man.
It did as well for me. Yeah,
I could not understand. I went on the air that night and destroyed him, and rightfully so. Like you're a professional quarterback, man. You're getting paid $35 million on this contract, and you're afraid to go into the game because you're thinking about your future. When every guy in that locker room is busting their ass to try to, make a name for themselves and still try to contribute to this team's success. So I think too much has happened. Like it's too messy. Like the relationship is so toxic where the best case scenario is, yes, you hope he plays well because 1, you still are technically in contention for a playoff spot, but 2, it's you want to try to elevate the asset that he is. Like you want to try to enhance the draft capital, the trade value. So the Salah even like hinted at maybe Zach Wilson wasn't who he wanted to draft. So like there's just so much goofiness going on that it like
also just to add this in for those who missed it again, he was asked a question at a recent presser. It had to have been this week following the really good game, and someone asked him, "Hey, can he work his way back?" I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but the question was, can he work his way back into the 2024 plans? And Salah said anything is possible. Now, pause time. Zach Wilson's under contract through 2024 no matter what. That's a very weird answer to give for someone who's under contract, suggesting to the credence of everyone's belief that there's a chance he might not be back. And after Salah saying that now suggests that it was up in the air that he wasn't coming back. So that was very poor by Salah. There's the same thing he did with Lazard a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
I guess the way he could spin it is that it's some kind of motivational tactic to let Zach know, like, because like one of the issues with Zach obviously wasn't just, the lack of production. It just felt like he had been gifted something that he had never earned. Like coming into his rookie season, there was no competition. Second year, never thought of him losing his job. He did end up losing his job, but in like entering the season, there was no threat of that. Then this year, he kind of gets handed the backup quarterback position. So I guess they could spin it this way. I hear what you're saying. They could spin it as no, we want him to see that the writing is on the wall, so that he can try to earn it. But yeah, it's solid this year. Like the verbiage has kind of been sloppy, like pleading the fifth. The even when he said, "Well, we always felt Zach Wilson gave us the best chance to win," was so odd considering that at 4-6 they're still in the playoff race, and you now bench the guy who you felt gave you the best chance to win. Like that, it's none of it's made sense to me.
And he said he would never do that. A couple weeks before that, they were asked, "Hey, would you just switch Zach Wilson, for the heck of it, because like everything's not working?" He said, "No, you don't just make changes to try to make a spark. That doesn't make any sense." A few weeks later, why did you bench Zach? We were trying to get a spark, trying to make something happen.
We needed a spark, and then he tried to say, "Yeah, it's not all on Zach. It's everyone. It's the coaching. It's the line. It's everyone on offense. But we needed the spark." And then 2 weeks after that, said spark that you needed just kind of went away because he's always been the guy that gave you the best chance to win. It's a soap opera.
Quite. And it's entertaining, to say the least. Ty, we'll wrap up here. Jets-Dolphins. Again, I contest that is the most difficult game left on the Jets schedule. There's other ones that are difficult in different ways, but this one with record and everything else, and in Miami, they just come off a loss to the Titans. Give us your crystal ball prediction for Jets-Dolphins.
Yeah, I think I might feel better about this game had Miami not lost on Monday night, just because they are now reeling from what was just a devastating performance. Because they're still in contention for the number 1 seed in the AFC. Now, a lot needs to happen. Baltimore's got to lose to Jacksonville, but Baltimore does play, San Francisco coming up. They got the Steelers,
and they play Miami.
And they play Miami head to head.
Of course.
So looking ahead at the schedule, the Dolphins, they got the Cowboys coming up too. They've got Baltimore, and then they play the Bills. So those are going to be 3 tough games. And if you fashion yourself as a contender, you got to find a way to erase the narrative of you can't beat good teams. So I think Miami coming off that loss is going to have something to prove. And I think they win this game. It's hard for me to see the Jets winning this game in Miami. I will say, first time they played on the MetLife Stadium with Tim Boyle as quarterback, should have been 10-6 at the half. So the Jet defense had held them to just 10 points before.
And that was with zero offense. Boyle obviously did nothing, and it was 10-6, and it was a game with zero.
The worst thing that happened in that first half was the DJ Reed interception, because that sets up the Jet offense for the Hail Mary attempt, and the rest was history.
How did that happen?
Comedic history.
What a soap opera! Opera!
I think they can hang with them. Like if we'll see if I forget the tackle's name from Miami. Who's this?
Teron Armstead?
No. So it looks like he's gonna play. The other guy. Oh. There's another tackle that's listed as questionable.
Okay. Yeah.
But let me try to pull it up. But if the Jets obviously are going up against a unit with some injuries on their offensive line, it's one that they can take advantage of. It's just
is it Austin Jackson?
Yeah, Austin Jackson.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll see, because we may have a revenge game here. So not only is Connor Williams, is starting center's out for the season, their backup center's also hurt, Liam Eichenberg. So Jonathan Harrison, who they signed 3 days ago, who has not played a game in 4 years, could get his Jets revenge game as the starting center against Quentin Williams. Yikes.
Quentin Williams, man. Quentin Williams is a dog. So he could eat. He could eat tomorrow, and if that's the case, then maybe they'll be competitive. It's just, are you going to score enough points, man? Is Zach Wilson going to be able to duplicate what he did last week? Because what I will remind people about Zach, he's got the talent, man. The question about him has never been talent. Like, he clearly can make all the throws. It's about, and Dan Orlovsky mentioned it this week, you need to give him less information. Less information is more. You give him what the read is, what the play should be, and then let him go out there and play. I think the Jets, realizing they're 4-8, like the season's kind of teetering on being over. The Texans are a better team, so just go out there and let it rip. Now that they're 5-8, you wonder if they become more conservative. because now there's an outside chance they make the playoffs. So you go back to we just don't want the kid to make any mistakes, as opposed to letting him play free. If you let him play free, I think he'll be better. And you got to live with the turnovers because those are just going to happen.
Well,
I do think
enough.
the Dolphins win this game. I do think the Dolphins win.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for joining us, including the AAA affiliate of the New York Mets, Syracuse Mets, dropping into the show.
Oh,
Hey,
wow.
okay.
There we go.
Hey, we're
Syracuse.
big time. We're big time here. We
There
got
you
all
go,
these. We got all these
Syracuse
people.
Mets.
Appreciate
Yamamoto
that.
sweepstakes. You'll see if the Yankees or the Mets nab
Spicy,
Yamamoto.
spicy. All right. It's getting exciting. Exciting. So we'll see what happens. Ty, as always, thank you for gracing us with your presence, good sir. Yes.
Anytime, man. Shout out to all the Jet
beautiful.
fans out there on the program.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Whether you watch live or after the fact, we appreciate you guys all the same. We'll be back tomorrow morning for a game day edition coming up tomorrow morning at 7:30. All right, thanks everybody for tuning in. Take care. We'll see you. God bless.